All right, welcome everybody. I don't know whether you've had time to download the brand new toolkit that was finished about 3 hours ago, which is quite impressive given it was actually only started yesterday. But it's a great toolkit, and we're going to take you through some bits of it. And the bits that we miss out or we don't have time to do, you can go and have a look at. It's a very practical. In fact, it's been a wonderful experience to pull that together. But I'm not going to start. I'm going to ask a friend of mine to start. So have a look at this.
Welcome to this AI training session. We are thrilled you are here and hope that you learn a lot. My name is Sheila. As you can see, I am an AI robot. My design, my voice, and my movements have all been created by AI. In this session, the humans are going to explain AI and how to use it. They'll explain some of the dangers as well as their top ideas. I'd like to say they are super smart, but as you will see, they have a lot to learn. They don't even know how to dress properly. But enjoy the session. I might zip off and have a cup of tea. See you later.
Thanks, Sheila, for that encouragement. But we're going to do a lot of things today that we've never done before. This is the first AI training session that I've ever done. And I think all of us have ever done. But it's also a chance where we're going to learn together. So there's going to be opportunities for you to add your ideas into the chat box. And even this AI toolkit is in draft form. So any ideas that you have that you think should be added into this over the coming days and weeks, please share those and we will add them. We're also starting a new AI WhatsApp group that you can join to be able to continue to learn and share ideas. But what we're going to do is think about AI as really just another tool in the toolbox. Sure, it's new technology, but it's also technology that's a little bit like Google was, as you could search the internet, or a tool like a book that you could get from a library, or any of the different tools that you use in ministry. AI is just another one of those tools. And I guess in the toolkit, we wrestled with, what does the Bible say about AI? And of course, it doesn't mention it, but it does mention the fact that God has gifted us as humans to be able to be creative, to be able to create great new things. And in many ways, AI is just that. It can be a tool used for good, but it can also be a tool used for evil. What we're focusing on today are really the positive aspects of AI and how it can help us in our ministry work. We're going to look at two things. One of the challenges about AI is that some of you on the call might have never used any AI yet. Others of you are using it all day, every day. So what we've tried to do is to say, let's start with the simple. So we're talking about chatbots, and we're also talking about creating images with generative art. Both of those can be done for free, and both of those can be done on a mobile phone. So no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to do what we suggest tonight. And then the toolkit takes you deeper and gives you a lot of principles that we've learned over this last year of how you can go deeper into these things. And as I mentioned, we want to brainstorm together. So Roy, can you take us through a bit of a brainstorm before we get into some of the practical ideas about how to use AI?
Yeah, thanks, Si. It's great. We've already got 56 people on this call. There's a lot of interest in AI, and probably the best way to get you thinking about AI is for you to try it yourself. So I want to start with you just telling us in the chat box some of the things that you have used AI for. So maybe you've already had a little dabble. You've tried some things. So go to the chat box now and write down some of the things that you have tried using AI, maybe with Bar, maybe with ChatGPT, maybe with a visual program. Let's see what some of the things are. AI is very good at some things, and you will find that very quickly, and then you'll try AI with other things, and it's not so good. So let me have a look at some of these ideas. All right. We have translation. It's really good for translation. Yeah. Finding out how many days it is to November the 6th. So asking it a question, it'll tell you stuff. Summarize meeting notes. It's so handy. Put these notes into 100 words or 5 bullet points. It's great at that. Brainstorming ideas to come up with new things you haven't thought of. Translation. Yep. Finding out how to write a particular Excel format. Ideas for a topic I was speaking on. Yeah. Spelling tenses, ideas of creativity. I've asked it to make a review of a Bible book, and it was brilliant. Writing Bible lessons. Yeah. We even used it to make up a game. Used it to shorten text. So if you've got 1,000 words and you want it into 500, it's great at that. Adding elements to original photos. Okay, so we got into some visual ideas here. Creating art, creating pictures, use for translation. So it looks like a lot of people have been jumping in and trying some things. Research, extending photos. So you got a small photo and you want to see something, bigger. It can create the, further outside to the photos. Turning as transcriptions of interviews into summarized reports. Wow. Okay. I've used it to take some text and turn it into a poem or something like that. That's been fun. Jacques has written a poem for his wife's birthday. Now, did you claim that poem, that love poem, Jacques, or did you tell her that it was from a...
I said to her that I just sent it to her, and then about a month later, she didn't say anything yet. So I asked her, and she said, "You didn't write it."
Yeah. Yeah. She knows your talent, Jacques. So, as you've seen, AI has many, many possibilities, and they are getting better all the time. Since I've been using Bard or ChatGPT, it's improved. It's really good at helping to develop ideas, to come up with things you haven't thought of. So give me 20 ideas, and 10 of them you'll know, but 10 you haven't thought of, which is really, really good. It's great for designing images. It's really, it can save time on certain tasks, and it can really summarize, translate, do all those things. But there are limitations to it. What it can't do, it can't be discerning in the way that humans are discerning. It can't be creative like you are creative. It can't be relational like you're relational. So it's got a lot of limitations. And so it's a tool that you can use, but you're going to have to do more work with it to discern how to put it together, to discern the context you're writing it for, and to design it. So I hope that's been helpful, just to learn from one another what you've used it for and what its possibilities are. So,
in the Flash Lab we've been having for the last 6 weeks, we've used AI in all sorts of different ways. And we'll show you some of that tonight, but also on the Max 7 YouTube, you'll see now, I don't know how many, maybe 12 different animations that are all done using AI. And the characters have been designed by AI, and then we've been able to animate them. So not everything is done with AI, but certainly all the design is. Even the Flash Lab manual that we created, every single image in the Flash Lab manual was done with AI. And we've been very excited that in this Flash Lab, we've been able to do our very first fully animated video with AI. This is a new and developing area that we're not going to talk about very much on the call, but I'll show you. Have a look at this. And this is done with an app called Kaiber, K-A-I-B-E-R, and it's in the toolkit. Have a look. Enjoy. It starts with no sound. So that's part of the Families on Mission work that's starting to happen in all the different movements that we're serving. And now we want to move on to some very practical ideas of particularly how to use prompts. And given that the amount that you've already used AI, you will understand the concept of a prompt. But what we want to do is to go a little bit deeper into the principles of prompts for both chatbots as well as art. But to help us in this, we have a robot again.
As we discover generative art made by AI, you will need to understand the concept of a prompt. A prompt is some natural human language in text form describing the task that an AI should perform. So, for example, a grasshopper playing a guitar in a rainforest by a waterfall. Nice. The humans are now going to explain everything they know about prompts. That should take about 2 minutes. That's humor. Apparently. Ha ha ha.
All right, thank you, crazy robot woman. In fact, I think I might woolitize her, which again you can do with AI in an app called Starry AI, which also does allow you a number of free images. But the concept of a prompt is a great thing to explore. And Brett, we're going to demonstrate this in a very brilliant, well-rehearsed way, aren't we? Aren't we?
Absolutely. Si, tell me something.
What? About the weather or my boys or how to make a kite? What do you want to know?
Well, tell me something blue.
Okay, that's a bit more specific. The sky's blue. Sometimes I feel blue. I don't know.
Seriously, just tell me something blue.
Okay, well, blue is a color, Brett. It's one of the primary colors, along with red and yellow. It's the color of the sky, the ocean. It's the color of a lot of things like blueberries, jeans, Smurfs. What else do you want to know about blue?
What's the meaning of blue?
Oh, okay, that's a bit more specific. Well, blue, it's often associated with peace and tranquility and sometimes calmness. It can represent loyalty and trust. Blue is also sometimes associated with sadness and mourning. By the way, I didn't write this, a chatbot wrote it. But yeah, that's what I know, Brett.
Tell me the science of blue in terms of its structure, its makeup. Like, how did we get blue?
Okay, now you're pushing me. Well, blue has, I just happen to know this, blue has a wavelength of 450 to 495 nanometers scattered by air molecules in the atmosphere. That's what makes the sky look blue. Blue objects absorb longer wavelengths of light and reflect shorter wavelengths, which is why they appear blue. There's lots of things I could tell you about blue.
Well, I'm so glad that I asked.
So anything else?
What about a poem? Can you write a poem about blue?
Yeah, sure. Just give me a second. Okay, yeah. Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm not very good at poetry, but I'll give it a pretty good go, except I tend to mess up the ending. Okay, all right. That's our demonstration of prompts.
Let's talk about prompts then, and kind of where we can fall through the gaps when it comes to AI.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we tried to demonstrate there with that very cleverly written script, thank you, Bart, we need to be specific. So if you just ask a very general question, you'll get a very general answer. So, Brett, tell me, what are some of the, I know there's lots of principles, and in fact, James will go into a lot more detail about this, but can you give me a few of the key principles when you write a prompt for a chatbot? What are just some of the key ones?
Well, for me, maybe it's my Canadianism coming out. I always ask please, and I always say thank you, because when the AI take over the world, I don't want them to come after me first.
That's very good. And in fact, they tell you to use humor as well, which is important. But you have to be very specific, don't you? So specific.
Yeah. You have to frame everything. Like, there are a lot of people that will show these prompts that are 3, 4, 7 words long. And I have found very, very limited success when I use, quick, concise language, where AI really wants us to draw out to a much grander space the very specifics that we're looking for. The other challenge is we really have to know what we're expecting. And so I have not found any success in AI giving me the answer. I kind of have to know what the answer that I'm looking for is. And then that's where I go back and define the prompt.
Yeah. So actually, it does take quite a bit of creativity and quite a bit of skill to create a prompt that's going to give you what you're looking for. But also, I guess, as you do it, you need to start to feed it. And James is going to take us through some actual examples and walk us through how to use ChatGPT, which many of you will be familiar with. But what we've tried to capture in the toolkit, which I encourage you to get, are really deep principles that actually I've learned a lot in the last 24 hours of gaps in my knowledge and gaps in how I've been using it. Before we get James to do that, I did ask Bard for some really interesting ideas about prompts. And one of the suggestions was to write a poem in the style of Shakespeare. So I thought, yeah, I'll try that. What about I write a football poem in the style of Shakespeare? So thank you, Bard.
Upon the verdant pitch where heroes tread, the game of football with its leather ball is played with passion, skill, and daring head to score the goal that brings them lasting fame. The players gather, clad in vibrant hues, their spirits soaring, their resolve complete. The ball is passed with precision rare, and volleys struck with thunderous acclaim. So let us hail this noble sport of kings, where teamwork triumphs and the victor sings.
So there's a lot of things that AI can do, and the majority of that video was actually made on my phone, sitting there looking after my boys on the weekend. So that gives you an idea of the power of AI. So James, put us out of our misery. How do we use ChatGPT, and what are some of the key principles? Can you demonstrate?
And indeed, right, I'm going to share my screen, or I've got ChatGPT up. Now, there are lots of different chatbots that you can use nowadays. There's ChatGPT, there's Bard, and there's a whole host of other ones. And they will give you lots of different tools to help you write your prompts now. Back when AI started coming into the mainstream, which is almost exactly a year ago now, you just had a blank screen and that was it. But now, if you sign up with openai.com, which is the company behind ChatGPT, you can start using their tool for free. And they've got lots of new things in their interface now. So even on the very basic ChatGPT interface, you can load up prompt templates, and it will give you lots of different ideas about how to structure your prompts. And there's all sorts of other things you can explore there. There are lots of different wrappers that you can use to interact with a chatbot. So you might find that there's a different program which uses the ChatGPT engine and just gives you some extra tools around that. But what we're going to do now is take a look at some of the ways that we can use ChatGPT. Let me just get my screens arranged here. That one there. Okay. So, one of the ways that we've been talking about is how important it is to be specific. So let's say you're wanting to do a warm up game. You're running a session. In fact, let's ask ChatGPT how I should start this session. So I'm about to lead a 15-minute session online with a group of about 60 people from different countries around the world. Be discovering topic of useful ways to use chatbots. Give me 3 points I should include in the session. So here it's given me 3 essential points I should include. Personalization and efficiency. It can explain how they can streamline processes and adapt to user needs. Global accessibility and multilingual support, which is obviously really important for a group such as ours, where we're coming from many different countries, different languages, different cultures. And integration and scalability, how you can use it in different contexts such as websites, apps, and messaging platforms. So let's start a new chat. And this time we're going to ask for 3 ideas for a warm-up game. And I want to show you how things can change when we start getting a little more precise. So here I've given very little direction to ChatGPT. Just said 3 ideas for a warm-up game. And it's given me 3 ideas: 2 truths and a lie, human bingo, and word association. But there's no context around that. If we become a little more precise and a little more specific, let's just type this in. So here we're saying, I'm a Christian children's worker with a group of 30 children in a tent in hot weather. Give me 5 ideas for a 3-minute energizer game to use with children aged 7 to 9 to help them settle and focus. So we're being a lot more targeted with our prompt there. We're saying what we want the outcome to be. You know, we want them to be settled and focused on what's coming next. We're putting in some constraints. We're saying, look, this is quite a large group. It's a limited age group of children, and we know that it's hot. So let's see what ChatGPT says in response to that. Okay, so this is good because it's already putting this in a Christian context. It's saying we could use some lively Christian music appropriate for children, instruct the children to dance and move around the tent. Now, already we can see that with this quote, maybe ChatGPT hasn't got quite the same sense of managing children that some human experts might do. We've told ChatGPT that this is going to be a tent in hot weather. So whether we want children dancing around to lively Christian music, you know, we'd need to make a judgment on that. But then if we went on to this second idea, pass the water balloon, that could be fun. Bible stories, charades, fruit relay race. And it does say, make sure to adapt these for the hot weather conditions in your tent. So that shows us how we can be more specific. Now, let's say we want to provide some context. That this is something that I've found very useful. Let's start another new chat. Oh, one thing just to point out: when you're using ChatGPT, in the sidebar, you get the full history of your chats. So you know, if you've asked previous questions, then such as this one here, I was doing a contract with somebody. I didn't understand a particular piece of text. So I just said, please explain this in plain English, and pasted the content in from the contract, and then ChatGPT gave me a plain English explanation of what that was. So let's start a new chat, and this time I'm going to put in a prompt about writing a brochure for a Christian holiday program. And here you can see I'm saying I want 5 benefits of attending, each benefit to be no more than 50 words. So I'm visualizing what I want that brochure to look like and how much content I want ChatGPT to write. And I'm giving it some direction on what kind of tone of voice I want it to be. I want it to be approachable, friendly, reassuring, and the content needs to convey that kind of integrity and trust and empathy. And then I'm telling them who the target reader is going to be. So it's going to be parents of children aged 7 to 11. Target reader will not necessarily be familiar with Christian faith, so your content should be clear and avoid jargon. Okay, so ChatGPT has come up with some suggestions. So these are all within the 50-word limit. So again, this isn't a case of simply copying and pasting this into your brochure for Christian holiday program, but it can be a springboard for you then to think, actually, that's a really good way of organizing my thinking, or actually, I'm really not sure whether I want to include the one about, I don't want children to have fun and adventure, so we're going to scrap number 5, we're going to do something else. So you can follow it up with further questions. You can say, actually, I've changed my mind. I want this to be for professional readers of teenagers aged 15 to 18. assume that the parents know nothing Christianity. Okay, let's see what ChatGPT says there. Okay, so ChatGPT is coming back saying, okay, let's adjust the tone and content. And you can see here that these, if we look back, these values here, these values here is saying in a very kind of informal and friendly way about what the features would be. Whereas if we come down here, it's a little bit more removed, a little bit less engaging. And assuming no knowledge about the Christian faith. So it's a good way to follow up on those responses that come back. Let's try something else. Okay, how about this one? I've no idea how much time I've used yet, Si. So I'll make this my last prompt.
About 3 more minutes. You're right.
Oh, brilliant! I'll make this my last prompt, and then I want to quickly show you the website page. So this is. I want you to create a 10-minute game that will help children think about generosity. And here I'm using examples so that it's really clearly instructing the chatbot as to what context to give it. So I'm saying, for example, it could be based on the biblical story of 5 loaves and 2 fishes, or it could be the story of the widow's offering. In creating the game, you should give consideration to the fact that children will be from underprivileged backgrounds. So again, we're giving some really clear context that we want ChatGPT to respond with. And ChatGPT has come back with the objective, the materials needed, instructions, and preparation, and so on. Really, really thorough approach, actually. So you could then follow this up by saying, oh, actually, I've got no materials. So rework what you've given me above, but using no materials at all. So that's it that's scratching the surface. There is so much you can do with ChatGPT. If you were to scroll down my own ChatGPT history, you'd see an awful lot of ways that I'm using it with building websites and understanding code and building spreadsheet formulas and all sorts of things like that. But I just want to show you the resources page on the gcf.community website, so you can access that through this link here, gcf.community/tools/resources. It's also on this menu here, resources. And you'll see here that I've created a list of the different tools that you can use. So you've got the chatbots here, generative art. So some of the things that Spy was talking about, such as Starry AI, generative video. Kyber AI was one of the tools that Sai has been using to create these videos. Generative music. This has improved a lot in the last few months about what can be done there. AI transcription and summary. If you want, if you're doing a Zoom call or a Google Meet or a Microsoft Teams meeting, you can sign up for a completely free account with Fathom.video. It will record your calls, transcribe them, give you a summary. They don't even have a paid tier on their platform at the moment, so well worth doing that. And then there's some non-AI resources there as well, such as stock images. And if you've got tools to suggest, you can add those in here, send them through, we'll get them added. And if you would like to join the AI learning community on WhatsApp, then you can do that here and you'll get an email with a link to join that community. And this button here, that gives you the toolkit that Simon was waving around a few minutes ago. Then at the bottom of that page, there's a few things that you should understand just in terms of pricing and warnings. Do make sure that you read that. It's a really useful tool, but we all need to go into it with our eyes wide open. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Sai.
Thanks, James. And we realize that for some of you that have been using chatbots for a long time, that some of these things you'll know implicitly and you will have been doing. In the toolkit, there's 10 different principles, and James just touched on a few of them. It's well worth having a look at that just to be able to challenge you and think about things that maybe you haven't tried before. But now we're going to move on to generative art. And let me just find my screen here. I'm going to share. Now, mostly I've been using Midjourney, but that's a paid app. So I'm going to demonstrate this on Bing Create, which all of this is in the toolkit if you want to find them. But if you just search Bing Create, then it'll come up. But when you're looking at AI art, and we've been creating thousands of images in the last 12 months that have been used for everything in the sport movement, in GCF, Family Fit, Gen G, and many, many other things as well. But it's been very interesting to try and understand, how do you explain this in a way that's really useful? So first up, you say what you want. Again, in generative art, you need to be specific, because if I just put in a boy and I ask Bing to create it for me, it'll do that, but it won't know exactly what I'm asking for. So I need to describe the image in as much detail as I can. We'll see what it comes. Okay, it did create a boy, but that's nothing like what I'm looking for. Because what I'm looking for is an Ethiopian boy. In fact, I'm looking for an Ethiopian boy playing soccer. And the reason is because a lot of these things come from America. So if you say football, you'll get gridiron images. So I'll have to use soccer. So I'll try that. Let's see about an Ethiopian boy playing soccer and see what that gives me. And again, it's telling, whoops, please provide a more descriptive prompt. There you go. So it's asking, it's telling me what to do. So I'm going to say an Ethiopian boy with a soccer ball. So the first thing is what I want, but then I got to say where it is it. In a rainforest, by a waterfall. And in fact, I'm going to make this made of bronze. So that's going to give me a bit more detail, describing the image I want and the context of where I want. So that would work, hopefully. Let's see if it works. But then I'm going to add a bit more to it. Okay, phew, it didn't reject me that time. So it gives me what I want. It gives me where it needs to be. So it's describing it. Oh, it doesn't like that. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. All right, sometimes AI thinks that you're doing something bad. I'll say I don't know why it did it for me before. So for some reason tonight it's blocking me. I tested all of these. It worked fine. Oh, there you go. So a boy with a soccer ball made of bronze in a rainforest by a waterfall. So it created that. That's describing the image. But I might want to add something about the mood. So I might want to say in a happy mood, and thankfully this has made it relatively good. And also then describe the kind of the style. So in that case, I said made of bronze. This time I'm going to say paper cut out art and try that. So again, I've got the same object I'm trying to achieve, but I'm starting to change the style of it. And I can keep building on this until I end up with something that I'm looking for. Okay, that's interesting. That's a paper cutout art. Or I could say, give me it in the style of Picasso. And just to reinforce it, I'll say abstract art. So now it's going to give me something a little bit weird, but let's see what it does. And you can keep building on it. So first up, you describe what you're looking for. Second up, oh, there you go. You describe the mood and the action of what you're trying to do. Then you describe the style and the aesthetic. Now, one of the ones I really love is the word whimsical. So I'm going to say a whimsical. It's a great word. Whimsical boy in a happy mood with ink and watercolor. I use this one a lot. I get rid of the abstract art, and I'm going to get rid of the location and just show you that. So now I'm doing something just a little bit more hand drawn style. But let's just have a look and see what it does. But that's about describing the style. I could even do it more for one of the Gen G's videos. We did it in the style of Oliver Jeffers, who's a beautiful illustrator. So I'll do that. That's going to make it a little bit more classy because I can put the name of an artist in. So that's another possibility. So we'll have a look at that. So that's describing the aesthetic and the style. And now you can see it's a little bit more contemporary, beautifully done. And in the toolkit, you'll see there's a number of different ideas that really will help you in your prompts. So one is in an art style, it's one possibility. Another possibility is just using words. So this time I'm going to say, I'm going to do a whimsical boy with a soccer ball, Pixar DreamWorks style, 3D render, in a happy mood. I'll keep that. I get rid of these ones. So I get rid of that. And I'm still playing around with the style of it, but this is going to give me a 3D look, a little bit like a movie. And again, playing around with it, you get some very good looking. What about if I say an older boy, a 15-year-old boy? So the same prompt, but this time a little bit more specific with what I'm trying to create. So you can see, you can spend a lot of time. So that's describing the image, the mood, the aesthetic, and there's many things I could do. What about if my final one, I'll say photorealistic, in a happy mood. And then you can even add things like, I'm going to add a Nikon D850, which is a nice camera. And I'm going to add an effect, which is bokeh, which is a like a blur. And I'm going to say photojournalism. And so what that's going to give me is an actual photograph of a 15-year-old boy, but in a interesting style, quite a nice photo, I suspect. There you go. So that gives you the idea of the aesthetic and the style. Then I can play around with the framing. So at the moment, you'll see all of these are fairly close up. Now, Bing is not so good at wide angle, but I'm going to try it anyway, because all of the images on Bing, I'll go extreme wide angle in stadium to give it a bit of a sense of what I'm trying to achieve here. So it's the same camera, it's the same object, but hopefully the framing will be different. And let's see whether it can cope with that. So that gives me just a little bit more. Oh, there you go. So it's given me a bit of wide angle. It's still put the subject of the boy right up the front, but it has used a wide angle lens. So hence why the boy is kind of curved like that, which is exactly what a camera lens would do. So that's another possibility. Let me take that one out. I'll keep the rest the same, but now you want to describe the lighting and the look. So what I'm now going to put in a happy mood, I'll leave that, and I'm going to say at night under stadium lighting. So again, I'm going to keep the same object, but I'm going to describe the lighting and the look that I'm looking for. And it will then change it quite a lot, and put it in a nighttime, and you can see it changes everything. Or I could say, let me get rid of all of those, and I'm going to say in a colorful lit spaceship, UV lighting. So now I'm again playing with the lighting of it. And I know, having worked in this area for 40 years, we used to light scenes that'd take hours and hours and hours. So it's absolutely crazy that you can do this in a matter of seconds. But there you go, a different look just by changing the lighting. Then I can change the coloring style. So I'll leave it in a spaceship, but I'm going to say black and white. And that's going to be an obvious one, turning it black and white, but let's try some other things in a moment. All right, let's change it black and white. That's a nice little effect. What about if I say fluorescent? How do you spell fluorescent? Fluorescent. I don't know how to spell it. All right, let's see what that says. See if it can work out my spelling. Oh, there you go. So it makes it into bright light. So that's another one, is where you describe the coloring style. And then the last thing to look at is in terms of the level of realism, the seventh principle. So you might say hyper realistic. So let's do that. And it'll give me it's already given me relatively sharp, but that's going to make it, I spelled it wrong, but hopefully it'll pick that up. Okay, so it hasn't changed it that much, but I could say, let me change the photo. I'm going to change it from photorealistic, and I'm going to make it messy and informal. So that's changing the sort of level of realism, where I'm not wanting a sharp photograph. I'm playing around with it, and I haven't given it a lot of detail. So it's still giving me a photograph. But what about if I say oil painting, vibrant colors? Whoops. And that gives you quite a nice effect. So that gives you a very nice oil painting, but it's a very messy one. But if I use that same basic prompt and I say formal and classical, I've only changed one bit of the prompt, and suddenly you get a completely different type of image. So that's another really good thing to do. So they're the 7 principles that you will find in the book. But then some of the other things that are very useful in ministry are things like logos and graphics and things like that. So if I give me a logo for a sport organization in India that plays cricket, and I'm going to choose the colors. I'll go green, red, blue. And then what I'm wanting is, I want vector art or flat image. Vector art is just kind of line art. So I'll try that, and I'll say vibrant colors. So what that's going to give me is some logo ideas for that Indian sports organization. And this is incredibly powerful to be able to play with this and come up with ideas that you can then mess with. So I look at that and I go, oh, that's not too bad. But actually, you know what? I think I might make the blue. I'm going to make that orange and just try that. It'll give me a different design this time. It doesn't just change the blue in that same design. It'll give me a completely different one. But it just lets me play around with it. Or I might say here, in a square design. So all these are fairly circular, which I quite like, but for some reason, if I wanted it in a square, I could do that as well. So that gives me an idea. And so some of them will do it very precisely. Sometimes it will play with it. No AI knows how to spell. So whatever you do, you'll end up having to fix it. For whatever reason, AI can't do words very well at the moment. So that gives you just a bit of a taste. And there is a lot more to play with in generative art. But I hope that gives you some ideas. And in the booklet, you'll see not just the 7 principles, but a whole stack of different things that you can try out to add into your prompts. So hopefully that is fun. Let's just have a look. Some of you have seen this. Let me show you a video that was made for the Brazil conference. So many of you were in Brazil, and this was made overnight in about 6 hours. And there were about 300 images that were made, plus the voice. A few things were done by humans, but basically this was a poem for the closing ceremony, but it was all done in AI, and it would not have been possible to achieve this any other way. So it just gives you a bit of a taste. Have a look.
Are you a football family, camping family, fitness, fishing, chess? It is music. Is it cooking? Are you neat or in a mess? Is your household into puzzles, or history, or the stars? Do you dance, or skate, or mountain climb? Are you really into cars? Every household is a lighthouse that shines out what you do. What is it that is so unique? Those things that make you you? You might be empty nesters, or a family of 6. You might be living with your friends. Adoptive, a blend, a mix. Your family maybe goes to church. We're super glad you do. What about the other days? Is Jesus shining through? It's not about perfection. Not even being good. Just being salt and sharing light around your neighborhood. The good thing is we're not alone. We have a dad in heaven, from whom each family gets its name, you 2, you 4 or 7. No matter if you're into craft, or games, or painting jeans, or golf, or surf, or magic tricks, or building big machines. Find simple ways of shining light, even in your stinky fishin'. Is today the day to set your course? A family, on mission.
So AI gives us a lot of great tools to be able to do what we need to do. And for all of us in the various movements that we're in, creating tools and creating documents, creating visuals are things that we have to do all the time. And I can't tell you how much this has sped up the process of creating tools. So in the Flash Lab, just in the last month, we've created something like 55 or 60 new resources, and many of them were done in a matter of hours. And really, AI has opened the door to make that possible. However, there are still some dangers, and you'll see them in the toolkit. I'll just mention a few. So obviously, there are new things coming out all the time, and this is why we thought we'll try and have a list on that GCF site as well as in the AI WhatsApp group so that we can share what we're learning. We can ask questions of each other. We can share prompts that we found have worked. We can share some of the things as they develop. So AI video and animation is really just on the cusp of happening. We can do some of the things that I've shown you here, but to create genuine AI video is still a little bit away, but not very far. Creating animation, you could do bits of, but that will become more possible. But everything from those texts, the music, the images, the videos, all those things become quite amazing. And I think that it's well worth us exploring. But if we learn together, it saves us a lot of time because you can spend hours and hours and hours researching these things and then find what they can do, what's helpful. And so that's the point of the WhatsApp group, is really to say, look what I did, or look what I found, or look what this can do, so we can help each other as we develop. And, you know, of course, there's, like anything on the internet, there's a lot of temptation. So when I looked at Starry AI, which I used ages ago, in fact, this is the very first one I used over 12 months ago. And when you look in the gallery there, then, I mean, it's not pornographic, but it's still quite offensive, some of the images that you'll find there. So that's a bit of a warning. All the major sites that do AI art won't let you do pornographic images or things like that, but that doesn't mean that you won't end up seeing things that are offensive. So that's the same with a Google search. That's the same with, you know, Facebook. So it's just the same temptations that are there for everything. But then also I would warn you to double check your information. So if you create something, don't just copy and paste it, read it and check that it's accurate. And also something that James touched on, but just to reinforce, that when you add to a chat in a chat bot, it refers to what's gone on before. And I've made the mistake of asking a question in the context of another chat, and Bard gave me a complete false answer and led me right down this garden path telling me about this person that didn't even exist in this whole technology. So it was just making it all up, but based on what it thought I was asking. So remember to start a new chat when you have a new topic. So that's just some of the taste of it. We would love to learn more, and we're sorry that this has been, you know, in some ways a bit of a one-way. We will keep the chat out of this because there's some really good ideas that have come, and that will help us as we develop a new version of the booklet. but please join that WhatsApp group, and then let's keep the conversation going. And if you think there's value in us doing together a more advanced AI session, because there's a lot more that we could do that take us a lot more deep into this, then please say that in the WhatsApp group. That probably won't happen in the next couple of months, but we can start working towards that. So I hope this has been a helpful start. I do encourage you to get the toolkit and read it, to go to the GCF site and look at the tools, and to sign up for the WhatsApp group. And then we can keep communicating. We don't want to open that WhatsApp group too widely, because as you know, in all of these groups, you end up with a lot of spam and other problems. So we won't share that link just generally everywhere. You can get it through the GCF site by signing up. We can put it in a Zoom chat here if somebody could quickly do that. I'm going to finish with a final video from another robot, and we hope that this session has been a helpful start. Please feel free to write in the chat any questions that you think we need to follow up on that we can do in the WhatsApp group, and then just any comments that you have on this session itself and what's been helpful, and what you've learned. But have a look at this. I'm just going to turn that one off and leave the final word to an AI robot.
That brings us to the end of this intriguing and eye-opening session. And to think that I thought a fax machine was a wonder of science. But it does give pause for thought on how to use this technology wisely. It has many benefits and potential downsides, as every human endeavor through history has. 575 years ago, a new technology changed the world. The printing press. It had great power to do good and to spread evil. But it was because of that incredible innovation that you have a Bible today. AI reflects the same potential for good and for evil. As we ponder how to use it, remember that you have something even greater in your reach. You are creative, and you are made in the image of the living God. This is something that AI can never replace and will never match. Use that creativity that God has abundantly given you. Use it well. Harness your creativity in your service of God. And remember, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. Praise the Lord.